The fourth offense from Coda Lunga Stretta by Giovanni dall'Agocchie for the one-handed sword is to throw a half mandrito toward the hand. You'll advance a little bit, but there's no intention to wound here. He says, draw your foot back as soon as you've done so. And he said, seeing you open, he will thrust. Now, seeing you open, those are his words. There's an invitation being created here. So I'm not trying to hit the hand, and I'm not doing this and then staying in the natural ending guard there, portrait stretta. This is not open. He wouldn't attack me. He'd attack my sword. So this is a real lesson on provocation. Make a convincing looking half mandrito for the hand. You will advance a little bit here. You have to change from Coda Lunga Stretta into porta di ferro stretta because you are going to be throwing this half mandrito on the mandrito line. You'll be turning into this position. So you will advance your foot somewhat, making a convincing looking half mandrito for the sword. He said, draw your foot back. Now again, when I do that, my point goes a bit offline. I wouldn't say so far down as into porta ferro larga. I'm not saying that, but I will want to form an imperfect guard. I want my point not in my opponent's face. Here and draw back. Join here and advance, thrusting a thrust in the chest. When you begin, measure. This is not the kind of thing I would do here. When our swords start to cross each other, this is too close to operate in Bolognese fencing. This is one step and one hit. That's not it. If you look at these plays, you see we are 2 steps apart. Look at any of the actions of dall'agocchie in which he requires that you take 2 steps in order to hit your opponent. That's what we're looking at. From this measure, 1, 2, 2 steps back. Here's our starting measure in Coda Lunga Stretta. I advance a bit, half mandrito. Here and withdraw the foot. Bend your elbow to join your forte to your opponent's sword and advance your right front foot, thrusting into the chest. There's no repositioning. This is just a straightforward thrust. My palm is down. I would call it a punta ferma. It's not a punta dritta. It's not a punta reversa. It's just a straightforward thrust. So change guards. Here, withdraw. Catch this and advance. Go right into the chest. Dall'agocchie mentions that your opponent may try to disengage, that is, come out of contact with your sword when you try to thrust, and thrust at you. So dall'agocchie states here that what may happen is that after I've provoked and invited, that when I defend against that and go to thrust, that he may disengage under my sword and stab me. And he provides a solution for that. So what's happening is I provoke, advance, retreat a little bit. Here, I'm putting my forte here, ready to thrust. When I start to thrust, if he turns his palm and turns his body behind his right side, that's when he can thrust me. But here, my true edge will go against my opponent's true edge, and I'll thrust him in the chest. So be aware of that, be on the lookout. Here it is again. So if you miss that, slow it down slightly. I provoke, withdraw a bit. Catch this and prepare my own thrust. As he disengages, getting beneath mine, he comes out of contact with mine. I push my true edge into my opponent's true edge. I have to lift my hand and I can get my point into the chest. Now, all that being said, that's not even his actual counter for the initial provocation. The initial provocation, if we're both in Coda Lunga Stretta, my opponent makes this half mandrito toward my hand and expects me to come at him. That's what not to do, because that's what's going to get you countered. His advice here is, don't attack somebody when they're inviting you to. So the simple counter is, when he makes a half mandrito to my hand and try to get me to come back in, I raise to guardi di corno. And I don't come in. He goes for my hand. See, lifting my hand up out of the way. He may be I may be thinking, oh, he's going to try to hit my hand, even though he's only provoking. If I lift my hand up seemingly out of the way of that half mandrito, set myself in guardi di corno, that's it. That's my counter. From here, he's no longer got the situation where he's trying to make me come in on that because I'm obviously not. There is no call there for me to advance and attack. Dall'agocchie says, by changing my guard, I will disrupt his plans, his intention. And that's my counter.